Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Monza. We are here now for our final round and our penultimate race of the GT Cup Open Europe Championship. And we're heading around this circuit, 5.793 kilometers in length. That works out to 3.6 miles. And of course, a track that broke ground back in 1922 and was later opened that same year. We've got 50 minutes of action to get underway with a driver change window in between. And as you can see, it looks a little boggy out there. We've had lots of rain. 16 degrees is the current temperature as we're seeing it. But obviously, the drivers will have to contest with the large amounts of spray that are being kicked up. Of course, we've seen it already through the course of racing here today. Already the cars making their way around the track to then later end up in their grid positions before we then encounter the rolling start. At the top of the order, it's Stinus Longin, the 2019 24 Hours of Zolder winner and former champion in Elite 2 class of NASCAR Wayland Euro Series, is back again on top with his teammate Nicholas Saelens, who will be swapping in as the driver change window proceeds. But all eyes are on Ivan Velasco, who'll be hoping to put in a really decent stint in order to solidify his championship hopes, though there is still a chance for the likes of Nicholas Saelens, Stinus Longin, and also Matteo Lovisi, Federico Al Rifai, who will be joining Stinus Longin on the front row. Of course, Al Rifai, former Saudi F4 champion, and has been relentlessly quick through the course of this campaign. George Morgan here in the commentary box alongside me once again, Chris Stevens. And Chris, we have got two of our championship protagonists on the front row.
Yes, we do, and the two that are trying to deny that car, the number 80, the crown for this season. So Ivan Velasco starting in 6th position, his two title rivals sharing the front row of the grid. So that is quite a mouth-watering prospect. That number 80 crew of Velasco and Ludwig come into this weekend with a 9-point lead in the standings once you apply the drop scores. And so we will be keeping an eye on those points tabulations, but of course, as it stands, they will be taking points away from them. But the crucial thing is that Stinus Longin and Federico Al Rifai, well, they're both the pros in those two cars, whereas Ivan Velasco is the gentleman driver. And their race is going to be maybe somewhat compromised. We'll see, because Luca Ludwig is on double duty this weekend. Not in the same way we were saying earlier in the season where he was doing GT Open and GT Cup at the same track on the same weekend. They've taken it to a whole new level. He's racing at Imola as well this weekend at Ferrari Mondiali. The Mertel team helicoptering him between the two racetracks, and hopefully Luca Ludwig will be in the garage and suited and booted and ready to go by the time Ivan Velasco has to come into the box for the driver change.
Yeah, it certainly does take things to whole new extremes, but I tell you what, Ludwig getting a nice deal out of it. He gets to drive in 2 championships and get some really nice scenic helicopter rides. But as we're now watching Ivan Velasco grid up on to the home straight here at Monza, obviously currently sat on top of the tree right now in terms of the championship, alongside Luca Ludwig, 93 points against him, obviously not factoring in the drop scores in that number, but a great chance for him to close out the championship this weekend. Obviously, he's got 2 races where he can do it, as we watch the cars get set and ready to go. And as we now watch them, this is the car belonging to Federico Al Rifai that we just briefly ran on board with. But conditions have been quite changeable, Chris, and this is something that we've seen championships and the drivers that are in them, they've had to really kind of be flexible, understand them a little better. Monza, plenty of thrills and spills around this circuit.
In the dry, this should be a good track for the Ferraris, but of course the wet weather does even the playing field quite a bit, and maybe even swings it quite comfortably towards the Porsches, which run significantly better in the wet. Not only is their rear-engined layout great for traction in these conditions, but also the Porsche has always been the dominant force compared to the Ferrari in the corners anyway. And so, yeah, the Porsches could be in a very good position here. And of course, Velasco, on that third row of the grid, is just starting a little bit more in the carbon fiber zone. I mean, remember last year there was an almighty shunt before we even got to the first corner, one that involved Evgeny Leonov in the Volcano Porsche as well, and he's starting in 11th place, so he's got to be wary of him as well. But there is the pole sitter, Stinus Longin, 32-year-old Belgian. Be handing over the car to Nicholas Saelens later on. From Q1 Track Racing, a team that has already wrapped up their 4th consecutive team's title here in the GT Cup. And then the young dynamic duo of Federico Al Rifai and Matteo Levisi, both very early in their careers. Federico in his first year of GT racing, and Matteo only in his second year of car racing as well. And these two drivers have got a lot to look forward to in their careers. And then Racevent locking out the second row of the grid in their wildcard appearance here in Monza this weekend.
You never know what that could lead to as well for the campaign coming into play next year. Nicholas van Dierendonck, he's flying solo for this last round. Bogdan Duma, who would usually be alongside him, not here, unfortunately. So it's all down to van Dierendonck to take this car home. And there is our current championship leader. This is Ivan Velasco, the Spaniard, who's looking to take all the plaudits here this time around. A big thumbs up and a nice wave as he goes in pursuit of championship gold. If he doesn't do it here, he'll have another chance in race 2 tomorrow, but he will need quite a number of things to go his way this time. Just not quite in the clear just yet. Alongside them, we have Dieter Schweppes, who will be swapping out for Leandro Martins later on. Obviously the Brazilian who... Leandro Martins, obviously a tenacious driver, but first and foremost, Dieter Schweppes also mightily talented and will have a great chance here in this initial stint, especially here in the Porsche.
And yes, Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins can wrap up the AM Championship today if they outscore Nico van Dierendonck by 3 points. But van Dierendonck at the moment doing what he needs to do, starting ahead of Schweppes. And it must be said, Velasco and Ludwig can seal the championship today, but that's a slightly taller order, so maybe we'll crown an AM champion potentially today.
Yeah, very likely.
Glauco Solieri here has got a new livery aboard his GDL Porsche, which is very nice to see. Well, it's a SP Racing Team run car, I should say, formerly of the GDL team, is Glauco Solieri.
Panning across the home straight here at the Temple of Speed. Very scenic indeed. Obviously, the GT Cup Open Europe has grown quite some length in the last few seasons, and I must say now with the introduction of Ferrari cars, as well as on top of that the Porsche conglomerate that we have had now for quite some time, couple that with the odd appearance from an Aston Martin as well here and there that we have witnessed in the past as well. It certainly has grown no end, and we can't wait to see how this transpires going forwards as well. Of course, we heard latest news here earlier this afternoon. We had a press conference here at Monza as Michelin announced alongside GT Sport Organisation they will continue the successful relationship But more on that later as we take a look at the highlights here from Barcelona as we saw them go wheel to wheel. Ivan Velasco and Luca Ludwig's cars will go, well, side by side with the GDL Porsche. Of course, Federico Alrafai and Matteo Levisi, who started on pole for this very race. They would hold off the tirade. Evgeny Leonov would come together, though, with Fabio Babini, Davide Scanicchio as well, coming in towards the Wirth curve and then up towards campus. But it was Federico Alrafai and Matteo Levisi who would cap an opening race win to take the weekend by storm. And then as they headed out for race 2, once again, it was Levisi and Alrafai on pole position. They led the way coming in towards turn 1. There was more drama further back. Lars Zanen going around the outside as he then challenged Davide Scanicchio and Fabio Babini's car on the run out of Seat corner. Evgeny Leonov would tuck up the inside, though, coming through towards turn 1, leaving Babini and Scanicchio in behind. It was then side by side between Nicholas Saelens as well as Stina Slongin's car against Evgeny Leonov on the run up towards Bank Saint-Bedel. It wasn't to be, however. It will go the way, though, of Lars Zanen and Zander Prisbalak, who would take a fantastic win in the second race. And this is how the championship standings do look as well, folks. It's Ivan Velasco and Luca Ludwig who sits on top on 93 points and clear by 17 of Nicholas Saelens and Stina Slongin. The title's still yet to be decided, but we're going to find out very soon, that's for sure. Keep your eyes peeled on Matteo Levisi and Federico Alrafai, because they're also in the fight, despite being down in third place. So the car's now underway for the formation lap, and the rolling start will begin very, very soon indeed. First and foremost, let's take you through the grid ahead of this fantastic race. Pole position for Stina Slongin for the Q1 Track Racing team. Federico Alrafai for GDL Porsche on the front row with him. Ian Rodriguez in third with Giovanni Burton in fourth spot. We then move down to P5, where Nicholas van Dierendonck, flying solo this time around, has Ivan Velasco, championship leader, in sixth place alongside him. Dieter Schwepp starting in 7th. That's our AM leaders with Jorge Cabezas, former champion here of this series from last year, in 8th spot. Remember, he won it with Velasco. Eduardo Bugan in 9th place with Glauco Solieri in 10th spot. We move then further down to 11th place. Evgeny Leonov lines up alongside Laurent van der Velde, who starts 12th. Then down in 13th, it's Davide Scaniccio. He'll be handing over to Babini later on, with Florentin Sescu in R01 Porsche starting from 14th. 15th place for Johannes Zelger. And then further down, Laura van den Hengel in 16th for Mertel Motorsport. 17th for Alba Vasquez Redondo. Alongside her is Stephen Licorice starting from 18th place. 19th spot for Chen. Alongside him is Jahid Faisal Karim in 20th place. 21st for Jim McCallion, and Luciano Privitello will start from 22nd spot and round out the grid order ahead of this race. And as you can see, the spray very much still in full view. Obviously, it'll be kicked up a lot more as they go full speed. The safety car leading them down the Serralio straight, Chris. And furthermore, obviously back to my previous words regarding the Michelin extension. Great to hear, by the way, obviously the special relationship, which is currently amassed 10 years, will extend to 13, Chris.
Yes, unlucky for some, but very lucky for us. 13 years together with Michelin. That's absolutely remarkable stuff, and their wet tyres are very much the order of the day here at a very damp Monza. That highlight reel actually reminding me, because I didn't mention it in qualifying, Stina Slongen and Nicolas Saelens demoted from 2nd position last time out. We saw that them make the move on Leonov in that highlights clip. Well, that was deemed to be off the road, and so they were dropped back into 3rd position. So we called it a Q1 track racing 1-2 across the line. It ended up not being so. But of course, that's 2 crucial points that Slongen and Saelens could have had going into this final weekend of the season. But as it stands, 9 points between themselves and the Velasco and Ludwig Ferrari, with Arafai and Lavisi just 1 point back from them. Next 50 minutes of racing could be absolutely crucial to determine the championship, George.
Yep, sit tight. There's the team at Mertel just watching everything unfold, getting set for yet another race to get underway. The penultimate race, obviously in a pursuit of the championship and to bring an end to the GT Cup Open Europe season of 2024. Stina Slongen on the front row to his left. And on the outside is Federico Al-Rafai. The 2 Porsches will lead the train down through towards the start-finish line. The pace car will come in to the pit lane. It's all on the front 2 as we now trickle down towards the lights. They all glow red for now, but they'll now glow green, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for both cars at the head of the order, both Al-Rafai and Stina Slongen getting away very strong indeed. Ian Rodriguez just featuring in behind as well. He got Giovanni Burton on the inside as they head down in towards turn 1. It is still, though, Stina Slongen. He leads the way, protects his advantage up at the front, but it's still a battle for P3, still very much underway. Giovanni Burton trying to hold back the tirade as Nicolas van Dierendonk goes hunting as well, with Ian Rodriguez to his inside. They're going to race around Curva Grande, remain wheel to wheel once more on a trickle now down through towards the Rogier chicane. It looks like, I think Baton might have got him.
Oh, well, it's side by side between 2 of the championship contenders as Stina Slongen gets it a little hot into the first chicane, but the best start was made by Jorge Cabezas, reigning champion, as he went from 8th to 5th. But this is the view of Federico Al-Rafai staring down the back of the race leader on the run into the Lesmos, really trying to usurp that Q1 track racing car as quick as possible. What they can't do is afford to take each other off the road and then give Velasco a clean run. Oh, a little wobble there for Cabezas in the 85. He runs out wide, and his former teammate does pass him around the inside of the exit of the 2nd Lesmo. So that is Velasco, back up into 5th position.
Some unintended charity there from Jorge Cabezas for his former teammate. Ivan Velasco now moves up to 5th, and now he'll move up the inside here as we see Dieter Schwepp's trying to challenge here. Obviously, Nicolas van Dierendonk, part of this conglomerate, as they fly through out of Ascari chicane. Still Slongen up at the top with Al-Rafai chasing him down. Everyone through it cleanly as far as we can see, as we now watch them head down through towards the final corner on this straight. Looks like it was, in fact, Rodriguez. I will correct myself. It was Ian Rodriguez who held on to third place. Berton remaining in fourth, but once again, wheel to wheel this time between Dieter Schweppes and Nicholas van Dierendonck as they sprint now around the outside. Obviously, van Dierendonck trying to usurp Dieter Schweppes, who currently is one half of our championship leaders in AM category, and it looks like Schweppes has got him as well, sweeping by and will lead AM category.
Yeah, so that's crucial for the AM championship because the top two in AM are the two going for the championship. But as it's now, a victory is not enough for Rakkar to seal the championship. They need van Dierendonck to fall back down to third because the gap that's currently 12 points would increase to 14. Oh no, sorry, excuse me, that would be enough because it's only 10 points for the win. Ignore my ramblings. So that would be enough, but oh, disaster for Laura van den Hengel. Is that a front left puncture she suffered there on this first lap?
Well, if it rains, it pours, and clearly it has done here, and unfortunately for Laura van den Hengel, it's hailed, and now coming in to get that tyre changed. But still at the front, it's Stina Slongin who leads by 1.1 seconds ahead of Federico Al-Rifai. We then have Ian Rodriguez down in third place, 1.5 seconds in behind the GDL Porsche, as we now watch the cars run in tandem, heading down in towards Lesmo 2. There you can just see further back Jorge Cabezas recovering from that little moment. Simon Velasco, though, gladly took the move and went ahead and took full advantage as well. Now chasing after Giovanni Berton for that fourth place. Velasco running relatively strongly so far, considering the conditions here that are absolutely relentless right now. Obviously cascading, you can see the wipers in full flow, and obviously couple that with the spray being lifted off the tyres that the cars are obviously attached to, heading down in towards the Alboreto corner. Still 46 minutes and 16 to go, not forgetting the driver change window, which will open up, of course, in just over 17 minutes' time.
Right, so the two race event cars running fairly line astern, but you're right, this has been a cracking lap so far from Velasco to try and close in. Let's take another look at the start. Look at that yellow Ferrari on the inside, soaking them all up as they stormed down towards the Rettifilio for the first time of asking. Great stuff, and Al-Rifai tried to get around the outside. The two race event teammates side by side. A few cars not even bothering with the first part of the chicane, but everyone pretty much safely through. This is Velasco's view of it, with the AM pole sitter right in front of him as well. He'll usurp him at some point on the run in towards the second chicane. And look how quickly the visibility just disappears as they build back up to race speed. But here is our race leader. Stina Slongin leads by 1.5 seconds now over Federico Al-Rifai. And then it's 2.8 back to Ian Rodriguez and Giovanni Berton just behind them. The two race event cars that are guesting this weekend, but Velasco is now right with Berton.
Yeah, he is. Right up close and personal, 4/10 is all that separates them, so that can easily be hoovered up with one mistake. Berton will be hoping that he doesn't make one. Taking a slightly wider line than Velasco did, as they now head in towards Lesmo 2. We're running on board now with Ivan Velasco as he goes hunting after the Porsche that sits in front, but you can just see the difference on the escape coming out of Lesmo 2. Berton getting some really nice exit speed. Porsche gripping nicely, heading down the Seraglio straight, and now they'll sprint down towards the Ascari chicane. You can see the glowing lights as well, going very defensive to the inside as Berton, either obviously trying to fend off the approach from Ivan Velasco, but maybe searching for some better track to work with, as we now watch Cabezas once again flying out of Ascari. He's being hoovered up now by Dieter Schweppes, who, like we've already said, in pursuit of taking the AM crown. Fastest lap confirmed for Stina Slongin, coming to the end of this particular one. 44 minutes to go as they now fly down in towards the Kerber Alboreto. Dieter Schweppes this time around, obviously for Rakkar Motorsport, taking part in the GT Cup Open Europe Championship. Now flying down towards turn one once again, and they'll cross the start-finish line to then proceed onto another lap. Cabezas finding this a little bit more trickier than last year, of course. He was right in the championship fray, took the championship alongside Velasco, and for the first time in the championship's history, we could see one driver going back-to-back and taking a second title back-to-back.
Another, 93 minutes total racing yet before we can settle that one out? Well, they still can do it today, but yeah.
We'll need a few things to go his way.
Well, we'll keep an eye on Luka Ludwig's progress in the second part of the race. Of course, Dieter Schweppes proving once again to be not just one of the fastest drivers in the AM category, but also quicker than some of the pros out there. Of course, it's one of those drivers that's more bronze by default because of his age. Of course, Dieter Schweppes is a single-seater racer in the 90s, and then moving over into the likes of GT racing in Nürburgring 24 Hours and Porsche Cup machinery. It's again Ivan Velasco spinning up those rear Michelins on the exit of Lesmo 2 in his pursuit of Giovanni Berton. The race event teams are filled with various Carrera Cup Italian GT drivers for this weekend. Through Ascari, wonderful drone shot as usual, showing the treacherousness of the racetrack as well out there at the moment as Stinus Longin continues to lead. It's a bit tit for tat between the purple sectors, between the top two at the moment, and last time around the lap times were only a tenth of a second apart. So let's see if Al Rafai can close in on this one, and it is a fastest final sector from Stinus Longin, fastest lap of the race as well, so he pulled another 0.2 of a second over Federico Al Rafai on that previous lap. The gap now at 1.8 seconds for the GT2 European Series champion. So there you can see the points as they stand. It's 7 points, but remember that Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig have to drop 8 because you drop your 2 worst scores. They're the only team that's scored in every single race so far this season, but of course we'll see how it pans out in the second part of the race. Velasco is the bronze driver in that car, whereas Longin and Al Rafai are the silvers.
Certainly are. So we could yet see a twist late on. Obviously, it all depends on how Luka Ludwig performs really after the driver change period opens up. Obviously, Velasco will be, whilst obviously they'll be looking to box, obviously depending on how Ludwig's helicopter goes, it could be Velasco going right to the end of the driver change window. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on that, because that might give us an indicator as to whether Ludwig is here or not.
And car 12, so that's the Glauco Solieri car, must give the position back to Evgeny Leonov for passing off the track at the first chicane. So that's 9th and 10th position being disputed between the SP car and the Volcano Motorsport Porsche. So the 78 car, Davide Schinicchio leading Tsunami Racing Team teammate Johannes Zelger in 13th and 14th position overall. It's a glare of headlights making their way through the field. Got the 52 car there as well, Laurent van der Velde, another car that's still technically in contention for the AM Championship, but not if things continue as they are. Currently 5th in class for the Belgian. This is looking a little bit closer, and it is because last time around Federico Al Rafai did the fastest lap of the race and did a 57.835, and that was nearly 0.3 of a second quicker than what Stinus Longin did on that previous lap.
He did have the purple first sector as well, did Al Rafai, until it was taken by Jorge Cabezas. As we now watch the cars head around Curva Grande once more, and this time around Longin still being hunted down. Once again, Al Rafai goes fastest in the first sector with a 36.250. So very soon that delta is going to be whittled down as we run on board with Ivan Velasco. Currently showing green as well in his own right in terms of gaining delta on the car in front of him. Of course, being Giovanni Berton. And looks like Dieter Schweppes is having fun out there, coming over the curbs out of Rogier.
Oh, that was amazing. That was like a roller coaster up there. You know, supposedly they've flattened some of these curves, but not everywhere, not all of them. There are still some really high raised profiles.
It's called commitment, Chris.
Yeah, it is. That is what that was, commitment. Absolutely. It's still looking at the back of Jorge Cabezas, separated by not very much at all, nor are Giovanni Berton and Ivan Velasco in their squabble for 4th position. And when the headlights eventually dim and we can see who's actually heading towards Ascari, it's still the Ferrari behind.
Yeah, at this stage, you never know, things can change very soon. Time is still whittling down, 38 minutes or so to go. And we're within the 10-minute mark for the driver change period as well. So brace yourself for some furious changes in the pit lane. Velasco still working hard to try and close down on Baton. RFI, we'll wait and see how things stack up for him. He fairly, near enough, equalled Stinas Longin's fastest lap last time out. It was only 7 thousandths between them. RFI did not quite have enough behind him, even despite after taking the purple first sector on that last lap. That was stolen by Jorge Cabezas once again. Stewart's decision on car 12, 3-second time penalty to be added to the race time for overtaking out of the track. So there we have it.
That's the Solieri incident with Leonov. So I guess Solieri didn't take too kindly to the request to give the position back to Leonov, and he is in fact still ahead of the Volcano car. So they said, well, screw it, we're going to make that decision for you and give you a 3-second time penalty. But this is on board with Ivan Velasco, and he's edging closer and closer to the race-fed Porsche, pulls to the outside of the De La Roggia chicane. There's still just a Ferrari's width on the outside there, and bouncing and skipping over the curves, but he's still looking at the back of Giovanni Berton there in that number 27 car. Local race for him is based in Veneto. His teammate, Costantino Peroni, is even closer though. He's based in Milan, which is just half an hour up the road. Berton, the former Pro Cup Italy and Italian GT racer, hanging on to this 4th position spot for now, ahead of the championship leading car.
Coming into Ascari now, as they remain nose to tail. Still the Myrtel being forced to wait behind. Dieter Schweppes has actually managed to jump ahead of Jorge Cabezas as well. So next on his list, we just saw him actually, just the rear spoiler on the back of the Porsche creeping through the Ascari chicane on exit. So Schweppes is a man on a mission, and dare I say, he was faster than Velasco in that middle sector by over 0.6 of a second. So he's starting to gain, and he was faster as well by a shade, by a 1/10, in fact, in sector 1, both of whom actually issued personal bests to open up this lap. But Velasco has other things on his mind. The greater concern for him is the car that sits in front, and that's Giovanni Berton as they race down towards Rettifilo. You can just see that Ferrari now starting to urge closer and closer. Is he going to risk it on the brakes? He certainly will do. They're going to go side by side. He's committed into turn 1 of the Rettifilo. Is he going to double back for a switchback here this time on Berton? Not quite. Giovanni Berton equal to it. Defended well.
He certainly did. Left space on the outside, and Velasco did well to get that stopped. For a moment, I thought he was going to go skating up the escape road. But was all good in the end. Ian Rodriguez was really flirting with danger. Who's that going slowly? That's got to be the Jim Michaelian car. Oh, it was in the same colours as the 67, and really had me worried there for a moment. But it is, yeah, it's the Jim Michaelian car, the Grand Prix of Long Beach boss. Likes to have an outing here in the GT Cup.
Ivan Velasco was right on the edge coming out of Roggia. He had a huge swapper coming out of the chicane. He was almost well, no, I wouldn't say as extreme as sideways, but there was a loss of the rear. The front end was on rails, so he had to control it. But you know, credit to him, kept it on the track, and is still trying to chase after Giovanni Berton over this battle over 4th. It's been one that's been going on for quite some time, but all of it is inviting Dieter Schweppes to get closer and closer. And once more, he was faster by over 5, very nearly again 0.6 faster coming out of the middle sector. So Schweppes really starting to go to work, and he was faster again by a 1/10 in the first sector once more, with both cars once more taking a personal improvement in that first sector too. So as they now head in towards the final corner, once again, this time, Velasco, I think he's going to have to start asking the major questions soon, because otherwise he's going to have company very shortly, and Dieter Schweppes will have no problem trying to challenge. He's already committed to a few overtakes already, so it's time for Velasco to commit to his. He's going to go around the outside this time around on Giovanni Berton, and once again, as he did on the prior lap, outside line coming in towards turn 1. This time, Berton reneges, and it will be Velasco!
No.
Not quite, off the track. Big question is, will he have to give that back?
Oh, yes, he will, George. I'm sure of it, because he outbraked himself going into the chicane, and so I'm sure race control will be on the phone to him. saying you've got to give that place back, and he better do it sooner rather than later, because Dieter Schweppes is already on the scene. And so if he then passes Berton, Velasco would have to give up 2 spots.
Yeah, certainly well, registered on the timing tower at the moment is Velasco in P4 and Berton now in 5th, but for how much longer will that remain the same? We'll await race control to make that decision. Obviously now as we watch them come through the Lesmo, and now Berton has got Dieter Schweppes for company as they come through the second Lesmo now very shortly. There is Steeners Long in 1.2 clear of Al Rafai. Over the course of the laps, though, this first sector has actually favoured Al Rafai. He's been faster than Longin by around 6.5 tenths of a second. So furiously fast here, Al Rafai. And though he was a little slower in Sector 2, conceding 6 tenths in his own right in return. Schweppes has gone past Berton as well.
Right, yeah, so that's now a nightmare for Velasco, because when the inevitable phone call happens, he has to give up 2 spots now. Well, let's see. We can't actually see it. It was just ahead of the timing line. It might not have actually secured that place, especially because it says they were separated by 6 thousandths of a second when over that timing line. So we'll wait to see if he's actually ahead in the order when they get down there. This is on board with race leader Steeners Longin. And now 2.2 seconds ahead of Federico Al Rafai, and so is looking more comfortable out there. Sorry, I was trying to keep an eye on where Schweppes and Berton were, and it is now confirmed. Schweppes in 5th position by a second, so Velasco is going to have to give up 2 spots there if he is told to yield the place.
We'll have to wait for race control to confirm whether that is going to be a decision, but obviously Velasco sat in P4 for now, and 3.1 behind Ian Rodriguez. Not forgetting that the driver change period, that will be opening up in the next 2 or so minutes. 2 minutes and 10 now and counting as they fly now around Lesmo 1 and 2 once more. Still Steeners Longin, 2.1 to the good ahead of Federico Al Rafai, who once more tries to gain. Was faster than Longin in that first sector, but not by much. Just mere hundredths of a second as we now watch the cars hustle down towards the Rogier once again. Schweppes now on the tail of Velasco as it happens. It's 7 tenths between Velasco and Schweppes.
Oh, if he passes Velasco, then that's one issue sorted, isn't it? He won't have to give up one of the places.
That's true. So, that's very true.
This is Laurent van der Velde, Davide Scanicchio, and Johannes Zelger, a Q1 Porsche leading to Tsunami Racing Team Porsches. Scanicchio in the Pro-Am car, so Fabio Barbini will be taking that car over in the second part of the race, and we're only 1 minute and 20 from the driver change window opening. Right, this is a replay of something that's happened a little bit further back. Jahid Faisal Karim in the Street Art Ferrari Challenge, somehow parking it perfectly between the polystyrene barriers there that denotes the route you must take when you skip the chicane.
You get a golf clap usually for performing things like that. That is.
It's usually like a skills test, isn't it? Where you have to park it between 2 narrow cones.
Like pro drifting, Kiki Sagnano will be able to tell you a little bit about that from GT Open, I'm sure. But yeah, unfortunately for Jahid Faisal Karim, that's not a trip he would have wanted, but back out onto the track nonetheless. I'm sure and looking to try and regain at least somewhat something that he had lost, but as we now watch the cars head down in towards the Curva Alboreto once again. It's getting tight between Van der Velde, Scanicchio and Zalger as it stands. These are our 2 race leaders. Steeners Longin now with a 2.5 gap to Federico Al Rafai, who is working so hard to try and close the gap. Again, he was faster in the first sector, so trying to whittle this one down, but it just seems to be the case that the middle and latter sector seems to fall away from underneath him, and Longin seems that little bit stronger as they head down the Serralio Straight once again. They've got a good gap though to Ian Rodriguez, who's 14.3 in behind. Velasco working hard to try and close the back on him. Taking a look at the last times, Velasco was 4 tenths quicker than Rodriguez in his last lap, but Dieter Schweppes, he was faster than both of them. He did a 1:59.153, which was a whole tenth of a second faster than Ivan Velasco, and you've got to bear in mind, Schweppes is only a second behind Velasco as it stands.
Yeah, it's really tightening up out there, isn't it? Although, Schweppes has closed in even more now, 6 tenths.
Changes
of
on.
A second. Yeah, the driver change window is now on. And so, well, now we're going to see if Velasco peels right here, we'll know that Luke has made it into the circuit already. If not, then there'll be a little bit more to go. But Lauren van den Hengel is the first to pull into pit lane in her number 83 car. So Tommaso Lavati taking over. That's the first time we've seen him out in the car. And so it's another bronze driver in 83. Oh, no, it isn't. Sorry, it is a Pro-Am car. It is different to the entry list. So the Italian GT driver with the Mertel team, silver class driver, is taking over now as Ian Rodriguez yielding the race vent number 26 car from 3rd position. And Velasco hasn't come in yet.
No, remaining out on track. Ludovico Larini will now step into the car in place of the in the 26. So now we see Evgeny Leonov coming in, of course, doing a solo stint as he always does, and he's going to be joined by a sister Porsche as well. Filippo Rodinio comes in for Eduardo Bugan, did the opening stint and was running exceptionally well to open up this race. So let's see how they finish. As more and more cars now come in. Scanicchio, of course, swapping out for Fabio Babini. He'll be doing the latter stint here in this one. And changes made as well with Laurent van der Velde opening up for the Q1 track racing team. More swappers as well. Also for Ivan, we got Giovanni Berton and Ivan Velasco. Obviously that's a gap that we're currently watching. The fight being whittled down to. Velasco still currently sat in 3rd place. But now we look to the leaders. It's Stinus Longin, who's on top still, remains out on track, and you'd factor in that surely he'll do the majority of this stint before Nathan Braun steps in. Al Rifai sat in 2nd. It's now 2.9 between them now, as we see the 992 being worked on with Filippo Rodino now stepping into the car and leaving the pits.
Yeah, that's the PS Performance Run HRT car that's guesting this weekend, and so out comes the 26 of Ludovico Larini, just in front of Evgeny Leonov and Nathan Braun. But here comes Federico Arafai, interesting, coming in earlier than Stinus Longin, and Matteo Levisi about to climb aboard that car. Of course, home race for him, as this is Velasco and Schweppes now in 2nd and 3rd, while this driver change window is on. Schweppes closing in on Velasco. Both bronze graded drivers, remember. And so, but fighting in 2 different classification of car or of driver lineup. Schweppes in the AM category, Velasco in the Pro-Am. So we just saw Levisi climbing aboard the GDL Porsche. Comes Johannes Zelger as well, another solo driver. So he'll come in, do the mandatory minimum stationary time. And then haul out of pit lane as well. In has come the 57 as well. So that is the Nico van Durendonk car. Normally be handing over to Bogdan Duma, but won't be doing so now. So he tries to keep the AM Championship alive, but currently not doing enough to do so. It's all down to Leandro Martins and the Rackar Porsche from here as a change for the 81 Mertel crew.
It's getting very tight coming out of Ascari chicane once more, and look at that from Dieter Schweppes, so committed on the escape coming through Ascari. They're nose to tail once more on the run down towards the Kerber Alboreto, as now you can see now Ivan Velasco being tested to the max this time around. The Porsche favouring the inside, won't quite go for the move just yet, or will he? The door has been left open by Velasco slightly. Is there enough room for a Porsche now to land a blow on Ivan Velasco? Side by side now between the current overall championship leader, our current Pro-Am championship leader as well, I should say, and the AM championship leader also coming side by side, but this time now swapping back behind the Ferrari as they run down towards turn 1 with 23 minutes and 45 to go. Up the inside goes Dieter Schweppes again. Not quite enough leverage though to get the move done coming in towards turn 1 at the Rettofilio, but the escape had to be taken by Velasco, who now moves on through, and he's got a little bit of company there as well. But in the pits comes Saelens and Longin.
Yep, so Nicolas Saelens now aboard That car having taken over from Stina's Longin. In comes the 27 as well. So Costantino Peroni from Milan, just up the road. Now getting aboard that car. And who's this we're on board with? Making their way out of pit lane. This is Nicholas Saelens. So the driver who had the lead, or the car that had the lead, I should say, in the early stages of the race. Let's see where they come out in relation to the GDL car. But here's Dieter Schreps again, really piling the pressure on Ivan Velasco for what is currently the lead of the race during this driver change period. And it's only 2 minutes left on the clock, so they're going to have to come in this time around. And look at that, Schreps just breezed by Velasco. I wonder if he was told to give up a spot there because of running through the chicane on that previous lap. I mean, we still haven't heard anything about the move on... who was it that he passed earlier? Well, look at that. He just absolutely breezed by, did the Porsche. Of course, yeah, the sort of pending incident about passing in the first chicane from earlier on. So that's Jorge Cabezas just behind them, who's also going to have to peel right here. So, yeah, they're all going to have to come in on this lap. And there is Dieter Schreps. I'm Velasco just behind him. Now, are we going to see Luca Ludwig get in the car? Has he been able to make it? Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah, we will do very shortly. Both Porsche and Ferrari now trickle down through the pit lane. And obviously those that have already boxed will now obviously move on through. Of course, all eyes on Nicholas Saelens as well to see where he ends up. Also, Annie Frozio, who stepped in for Jorge Cabezas. She comes in, obviously, in place of Jorge. So two of our champions from last year now in the pits. And Nicholas Saelens, no doubt, is going to be looking to push onwards.
George, not only is there not a driver change happening there is a mechanic knee-deep in the engine bay of that number 80 Myrtel car. Now, if they don't do a driver change here, and I cannot see, it says Luca Ludwig on the timing, but I didn't see anyone getting in that car. Maybe we missed it. Or of course, if Ludwig doesn't do this race, he can't do the next race either. So, right, back into the lead comes Nicholas Saelens. And looks well clear now of Matteo Lovisi in second position, and is by 7 seconds. Of course, they'll be carrying a small amount of handicap from their win in Barcelona last time out.
Still a lot of activity down in the pit lane at the moment. Obviously, I'm not sure what's going on with the Ferrari of Myrtel. Obviously,
well, Annie Frozio's come out. Andrew Martins has come out. Where is the number 80 Myrtel car? Because if that car's got some sort of an engine problem, that would explain why Dieter Schreps just breezed past him earlier in the lap, and he's still in pit lane.
Yeah, he is still not left. He remains in the box, and this is going to work out perfectly for Saelens and Longin, who now lead this race. So it's opened the door on the whole championship here at this stage, heading into tomorrow's final race. Extraordinary, and yes, they're going through the driver change. Yeah, Luca Ludwig stepping into the car. Seemingly, they're still actively working. They're shutting the engine bay door now.
Engine bay now going on.
Yeah, they're now going to be shifting that car out, and they need to get it out ASAP. They're forfeiting place after place as more cars come across.
Off he goes. He's just
out
now.
Ludwig. He is out of the pits.
My goodness, you could not make this up at all. So Luca Ludwig's going to come out in what, 17th, 18th? Place, maybe even lower. I mean, it's going to be a massive tall order just to score points in this race now. If anyone can do it, it's Luca Ludwig. But so fresh out of the helicopter, and now into the race car once again. This is really turning into a nightmare day for Myrtel Motorsport with their two championship rivals, 1 and 2 in this race. It literally could not be any worse.
Well, the only grace that they have is the fact that obviously Ludwig has got some miles in him already so far today.
Yes.
So hopefully that will transcend here.
Yeah, but look at the gaps he's got to close
immense.
up on. It's 15 seconds and to do that, to the point, 25 seconds maybe.
And to do it to within 18 minutes and 40, it's going to be immensely difficult for him to do that. There's just surely not a possibility. Currently sat 17th. he's really going to have to go all guns blazing. It's all about just claiming as many points as you can here at this dire stage. If you can get points here at this stage, Luca Ludwig, at this very sensitive stage of the race as well. Peroni moves up to 4th, ahead of Annie Frosio, who now drops to 5th. But currently, Matteo Levisi at the helm of the GDL Porsche, and he lapped faster than Nicolas Saelens did in that last lap. They were 5.5 tenths to 6 tenths quicker. In fact, 6 tenths faster than Nicolas Saelens in that last lap. And again, Levisi is lapping faster than Saelens once more. He is 3 tenths faster of the realm out of the first sector and is still hunting him down. And there's plenty of time to whittle down that 6.1 second gap.
Yeah, there is a lot going on out there on the racetrack at the moment. So Levisi closing down our race leader. Of course, these two are now squabbling over pretty much who's going to be leading the championship at the end of this now. One of these two cars, if that 80 doesn't score points, one of these two cars will end up leading the championship because they are only 9 points back once the drop score is applied. And so whoever comes out on top here is going to be leading the championship ahead of tomorrow's championship finale. You could not make it up. So here it is, provisionally. Before the drop scores are applied, it would be 2 points. The Q1 track racing pair would be behind. But remember, Velasco and Ludwig are dropping. Well, actually, hang on. If they don't score points, then they gain 5 back effectively. So they'll only drop 3. And so that would put the Q1 track racing pair 1 point ahead going into. So whoever wins this race is going to be 1 point ahead in the championship going into the finale. Once drop scores are applied effectively. I'm really trying to do the math in my head. I think I've said that correctly and explained it well as well. Nico van Dierendonk as well, meanwhile, has taken the lead back in the AM championship with Glauco Soliari second and Leandro Martins now down in 3rd. And so that should, in theory, actually keep the championship alive until tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on the progress of Leandro Martins. George, you look like you've got news.
Well, I'm going to say this. Obviously, Stina's Longin, Nicolas Saelens don't have to drop anything because they've had 2-0 scoring rounds.
No,
the same for
the
Al and Levisi. So if anyone's dropping points, it's only the current championship leader.
Yeah.
So this is going to greatly upset their balance, though the one reprieve they do have is not scoring points in this race. So they could take the 0, but essentially flush it here at this point ahead of the final round. But regardless, it leaves us with a very tight championship fight for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's incredible stuff out there. Glauco Soliari has actually just taken 4th position away from Constantino Peroni. So he's still second in the AM championship and 9 seconds back from this car that leads in 3rd position overall, leader in its class. And Soliari now up into 4th position. There he is, just got past the race vent car, who has his teammate just behind him as well in the 26, Ludovico Larini, and not Evgeny Leonov. I think it's a lapped car that is just behind them. As well, but yeah, it's certainly getting very close. There's Solieri, there's the 2 race vent cars, and yeah, it's Jim McCallion who is just behind him. Fabio Barbini's making his way up the order as well, just past Leandro Martins into 8th position. So the pro car going ahead of the, the pro driver in the Pro-Am car going ahead of the AM machine. Still the 2 race vent cars are squabbling, as they have been since the very first lap of the race, George. But this is all happening some 30 seconds or so more behind race leader Nicolas Saelens. The gap is stabilising somewhat out there now, and in fact it went back out to 6.5 seconds between Saelens and Levisi. But the 2 race vent teammates about to go wheel to wheel here, with Ludovico Larini to the outside of Peroni, and a little squirm under brakes in the number 26 car. It doesn't quite get it stopped and has to skate off the road.
Just look at how dark it's getting out there as well. The bollard's getting a fair share of impact there from the Porsche that's trying to escape the first 2 corners. Obviously, as the 26th now round, the right-hander Ludovic Larini now being hunted down also by Fabio Barbini, who is now hurtling out of Curva Grande, as we now watch them head down now in towards the next left and right. Once more heading out of the Rogier, and then they'll pirouette heading down towards the The two Lesmo sections, in fact, it is Peroni chasing after Larini as it currently stages. Obviously, Babini has 5.2 seconds to find in order to close up on these two. But I'm sure with Babini's pace, we all know about it. I'm sure he'll be looking to do just that. He's actually registering 159s at this stage, as opposed to those that are setting 201s. That there was a 159 stage by Larini not too long ago. Taking a look at Saelens and Levisi as well up at the front end of the order. Saelens has started lapping faster than Levisi has, so he's getting into the groove, and obviously with drop scores applied, as we so rightly said, this does mean that the Q1 track racing Porsche will enter with drop scores a point ahead of Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig as it stands, and confirmation car 26 must give back the position to car 27. That's Larini and Peroni after turn 1 and turn 2.
Yeah, so Larini skated off the road and ended up taking the place. So we'll have to give that one back. That's for 5th position. And of course, they're both trying to close in on Solieri and Van Dierendonck as well for overall position. So 2 AM cars that are in front of them. Nathan Brawns is also really closing in on Leandro Martins for the last spot on the AM podium. He's about 2.5 seconds a lap quicker than the Portuguese driver as it stands. And Johannes Zelga is not too far behind them as well. And so that definitely will keep the AM Championship going until tomorrow for Nico Van Dierendonck. Here is our race leader. Yeah, gap's really stabilising now as Nicolas Saelens has found his feet. It is 6.6 seconds still the gap between the Q1 track racing Porsche and the chasing GDL car. As we had confirmation on the timing screen there that Peroni did get the place back from Larini. So the 26 car yielding back the spot to the 27.
Yeah, the gap for Levisi now out to 7.6 behind Nicolas Saelens, so he's still continuing to forfeit time. He was just under 0.2 slower than Nicolas Saelens in the last lap, so it's looking like it's very much in the corner for Nicolas Saelens and Stinas Longin. Bear in mind, this is a team that have already won on 3 occasions through the course of this season. It all started back at race 2 in Portimao. They then took their second one. It took a while, but it came at Paul Ricard in race 2. And then obviously looking ahead, there'll be, well, in fact, it's only the 2 wins they have had so far. But if they do lay claim to this one, it will be a triple this season, which I'm sure will go down exceptionally well. And that will also match the number that has been put down by Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig. Quite fitting for this championship fight.
Oh, it certainly would be. And they're equal on wins, aren't they, these 2 cars? But of course, the 3rd win would put them back ahead and actually would match the number 80 crew's tally for the season. So very opportune time to get into the lead of the championship. Right, we saw Larini on the timing order. He got ahead, put a more legitimate move on his teammate Peroni, and now Fabio Babini in the Tsunami Porsche has found his way through as well into 6th position ahead of the 2nd race vent cars. And so that's 5th, 6th and 7th being disputed as Matteo Levisi comes up on the street art Ferrari, just flashing his lights there. Last time around, lost over a second to our race leader, and so Levisi starting to struggle a little bit compared to the cars around him, but just needs to bring the 2nd place home, and suddenly he'll only be 2 points away. It'll be those 3 cars separated by 2 points going into tomorrow's finale.
Yeah, absolutely. We're within the final 10 now. We're into the final 9.5, and this could very much set the tone for what we could yet see tomorrow, as we now see the GDL Porsche of Matteo Levisi currently struggling with a back marker as it stands, and that is Laura van den Hengel's car that was swapped out earlier on. Tommaso Levati going into the grass. It's still in motion right now. He's really desperately trying to get the Ferrari back out onto the track.
Look at the rear wheels just spinning though, George. There's not a lot of traction in that grass that's been soaked all day.
He's so
long.
close.
Yeah, he is so close. He just got to get, oh no, he's braked. So it just needs to get those rear wheels onto some asphalt. Oh no, don't reverse. That's not going to work. Well, yeah, of course, Laura's not very happy seeing her car in that state. But Oh, no, now he's going to dig himself a hole in the grass there. That's not going to do it any favours at all. It was so close. It was so close to getting out there, but no, doesn't look like it's going to happen. And so, yellow flags are out at turn 9 in the middle of the Ascari chicane. That's quite a fast part of the racetrack and quite a difficult spot to reach as well for the marshals, I'd have thought, although it is on the inside of the circuit. Will we need a safety car in these last few minutes? Meanwhile, Nathan Bronze has put himself third in AM. How's that? This is how that car's got there. So just skated off the road into the gravel trap and then got itself onto the grass. And it came to a stop, which I'm not really sure why that would have been the case. Surely you want to keep the momentum going as quick as possible. But, oh God, they're flashing past it. And there are yellow flags out there. But will we need a safety car to recover that car? So just finish up on what I was saying. Nathan Bronze has moved himself ahead of Leandro Martins, crucially, in the AM Championship. Well, I'm never going to be able to do the math on this because now we've got a slow-moving street art Ferrari as well. Pascal Bachmann not exactly going at lightning speed down the Seraglio at the moment. The leaders have gone past the incident once again. 7 minutes left on the clock, and Nicholas Saelens' lead is now up to 10 seconds. Where on earth is Nicholas Saelens finding this speed from? It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, 4/10 faster than Matteo Levisi over the last lap, but it's incredible how he's managed to notch this together. Peroni's managed to get ahead of Babini and move up into 6th place. There is our race leader, Nicholas Saelens, now for Q1 track racing, flying out of turns 1 and turns 2, and now we'll take a trip around Curva Grande this time. It does have a little bit of traffic to deal with. He's had an excellent race so far. Obviously, it all started with the initial stint from Steeners Longin and continuing on from achieving that incredible pole position earlier on today. This will tee them up nicely ahead of tomorrow's race. Oh, flying over the curves once more, fully committed there, Nicholas Saelens. Still nursing that 10.2 advantage. That first sector, again, Saelens was faster. But he'll now take a trip through the 2 Lesmo bends. But in a hunt for their 3rd race win of the campaign in what would be a 6th podium visit. With their 1 solitary pole position, they obtained their 1st earlier on today. And now with 5 minutes and 55 of the realm remaining, still the yellow flags beaming, heading into Ascari. As we now watch the car make its way through, once again has to dodge and weave between this lap traffic, which isn't ideal. And still the Mertel Ferrari is parked in the grass and is yet to be moved.
And in the AM Championship, I've just done the math on it, so Rakkar would continue to lead there if it finishes this way, with them 5th in the class at the moment. 5 points ahead of Nico van Dierendonk and 11 ahead of the Nathan Braun's car, which is the 52. And Laurent van der Velde, which isn't enough, actually. So it would just be down to them and Laurent van der Velde.
Yeah, according to this, the car will remain at the Ascari chicane for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, that's the message from race control.
That's the message they've given. So obviously there won't be any changes until the timer ticks to 0.
Yeah, well, they've got the marshals on the scene there, and of course they're well aware of the incident. And of course the recovery vehicle on site, and there are double waved yellows down there. So yeah, everyone's well aware of where the incident is.
Plenty of warnings. Also, yellow flags are being waved down the Seraglio straight, so they do have plenty of notice before heading in towards the Ascari chicane.
Oh, the race leader!
Nicholas Saelens taking a trip into the gravel, coming through Lesmo 1. That is a shocker of a moment there for our race leader. Now Matteo Levisi might be licking his lips, because that car now, aside from taking a step into the grass and the gravel, it's now got to try and clean it off and at the same time deal with a greasy track. Now this might send it the other way. He's still got a reasonable gap in between he and Levisi, but let's wait and see. A complication here for Saelens.
Yeah, just ran a little bit hot in there, really got away with it. And that's why you build up a 10-second lead, George, because he really, really did get away with that. And I think now, what that's done, that let through one of the AM cars.
Oh, came in very hot.
Yeah, the onboard is quite scary as the Mertel car zooms into view. But what I think he was trying to lap a car, then entered a double waved yellow flag zone into Ascari, and so lost a bit of time. Oh, we're going to see. That is Stina's Longin on the right-hand side there, watching his car very nearly fly into the gravel. So, yeah, but look, he's lost the entire lead. That is the GDL car just behind them of Matteo Levisi. And so he was really heavily compromised through the yellow flag zone as well, because he came up on a slow car at exactly the wrong time. So 3 minutes to go, that's 2 laps left, and suddenly the lead gap has come right back down, although Levisi did also lose time there. The gap is 3 seconds.
And how's the grip on those tyres as well, because they've just taken a trip into the grass, the gravel as well. They've accumulated a little bit of natural fibre. Let's wait and see whether this will cause an issue for Nicholas Saelens. So the gap has come down. It is still relatively high, 3.1 between Saelens and Levisi as they cross the line. So Levisi still has a lot of work to do, but can Saelens bring this one home? Big question marks now, given the fact that these conditions are slightly extreme in comparison to a dry circuit that we would, the drivers would probably prefer around a circuit such as Monza. As we watch Levisi now rumble over the curves, fully committed once more, coming through the Roger chicane as they head down in towards Lesmo 1 and 2. Yet another visit this time for Saelens, and he'd be hoping that this time it's a little easier. Levisi has, in fact, actually, according to this, gone out to 4 seconds now. So great effort here from Nicholas Saelens to once again build the gap. And with 2 minutes to go, this could be the writing on the wall.
Yeah, very much could be. Astonishingly, I think the number 80 crew has led the championship the entire way, basically, except for immediately after the first race. But since we left Portimao, I think that car's been at the head of the championship, I think. Or at the very least has led it for an awfully long time. But this is going to be a very well-timed 3rd win of the season for the number 11 crew. At Q1 Track Racing, and this will put them at the head of the championship on drop scores. And yeah, very well timed too, ahead of tomorrow's championship finale. Both the overall and the AM titles are going right down to the wire.
Well, without the drop scores already, it's 6 points between Matteo Levisi, Federico Alrafai, Ivan Velasco and Luca Ludwig. Those are the parameters. So we have got 3 groups, 3 teams, 3 different teams, in fact. GDL, Q1, Mertel, all fighting over Drivers' Championship supremacy. But it's Nicholas Saelens and Stina's Longin who will reign supreme here in this race as they now proceed to enter the final lap phase of this race at the Temple of Speed. Through Curva Grande, Nicholas Saelens will go. The gap now advancing to near 4 seconds. That's number 12.
That's Glauco Solieri, and he had just caught out. He had just caught up to the AM race leader, Nico van Dierendonk. And so I imagine maybe there's been some sort of coming together between those 2 cars. So that will put Nathan Braun's up into 2nd position and will just about keep them in the championship hunt. Actually, for the AM Championship by 1 point. Yeah,
and obviously Leandro Martin's currently sat further back in all this. He's just skipped past Solieri as well and has moved into AM P4 as it stands. There's Nicholas Saelens, though, making his way down the Seraglio straight. He has got Ascari coming up next. This, I'm sure, will be a victory to remember. That's for sure. Already accumulated 2 through the course of their campaign, but this Q1 track racing team continue to persevere in the GT Cup Europe Championship, as they've done so on frequent occasions. You look back to the likes of Jan Larison, for example, who dominated back in 2022, and now this time Nicholas Saelens, along with Stina's Longin, they are going to push this championship fight right to the final day as he now ventures around Curva Alvaretto. He had a little scare earlier on, but he fought back the 10-second gap, enough to subjugate the issue. Nicholas Saelens will come up towards the line, take the checkered flag, and victory for the 3rd time this season. It's a 4th podium, as well, should I say a 3rd win, a 6th podium so far this campaign. A wonderful display for Q1, and aren't they delighted? More to come tomorrow But first and foremost, obviously, they'll rest, but championship fight tomorrow, Chris.
And they take the championship lead with that pretty sensational victory. Matteo Levisi and Federico Al-Rifai keep themselves well in the hunt as well. Just 2 points back if things stay as they are. It's double victory for Q1 Track Racing as Nico van Dierendonck brings home the number 57 car, third overall and in the lead in the AM Championship, and he keeps the AM fight going to the final race as well, as it should be Leandro Martins, who comes across the line in fourth position. Still the Street Arts Ferraris crawling around the racetrack there, but it is 1-2 in AM as well, with the number 52 Nathan Braun's and Laurent van der Velde car coming home in second. Tsunami joining them on the podium as well with Johannes Zelger. Martins does come across the line fourth, so that should put them on 56 with Nico van Dierendonck on 50. That won't keep the Nathan Braun's and Laurent van der Velde car in the championship. In the end, they are 10 behind, and although it is 10 for a win, there is no way they are beating the win tally of Schweppes and Martins. They would win it for them on count back, so it's down to 2 in AM, down to 3 in the overall classification. And Luca Ludwig nearly did score points in the end. He crossed the line 11th, but 32 seconds back from Leandro Martins, which was the car in 10th position overall.
Yeah, let's take you through the results. Stinas Longin and Nicholas Saelens, they are victors for the third time this season. They finish ahead of Federico Al-Rifai and Matteo Levisi. Both cars will go in the hunt for the title tomorrow, along with, of course, Luca Ludwig and Ivan Velasco. Nicholas van Dierendonck with his first podium overall this season in third place, and top AM on this occasion. Laurini and Rodriguez in fourth, Scanicio Babini then further back. We take you then further on with Constantino Peroni, Evgeny Leonov, Nathan Braun's, Johannes Zelger, Leandro Martins, Luca Ludwig in 11th, Arturo Melgar finishing in 12th, with Camel Perry in 13th, Mauro Trentin in 14th place, Mark Speakerboss 15th, Filipino Rodinho in 16th. We'll take you through the championship nonetheless. This is how it looks. Very slender margins without the drop scores so far. Remember, Ivan Velasco, Luca Ludwig at 93 with 2 points separating them, and Nicholas Saelens, Stinas Longin and Matteo Levisi, Federico Al-Rifai 6 points behind. 3 cars, 3 teams, 3 different sets of drivers, all in with a great chance of taking the GT Cup Europe crown, and celebrations in full flow here at the Q1 Track Racing team. Stinas Longin delighted. He held his breath when the mistake carried out heading around the Les mode. You can see almost a sigh of relief, I would say, to a certain degree.
I was wondering, how many more greys does Stinas Longin have now after that moment for Nicholas Saelens through the gravel trap at Lesmo? Matteo Levisi, he doesn't look all that pleased with himself, really, does he? But hey, they are still very much in the championship hunt tomorrow. And well, now we're going to see if it's going to be dry tomorrow. Is that going to favour the Ferraris? If it's wet again, are they going to be able to challenge for it? It's set up beautifully.
Mertel are going to be doing a sun dance, I think, at this point.
Yes.
They would ideally want that, but there we have it.
So physio Frederick giving them the Cedric, sorry, giving them the necessary fluids.
Saelens obviously needed after that stint. I bet it was quite a stressful one, but nonetheless a great effort. Stepping into the car after a great opening from Stinas Longin, who took it from the pole position they obtained earlier on today. And I think even the Q1 Track Racing team having a little bit of a laugh over the little moment that occurred not too long ago, but they can laugh about it now.
I was going to say, it's funny because, you know, when your friend falls over and are you okay? And then you can laugh about it, right? It's funny because you're not hurt.
Yes.
So, yeah, they can.
It'd be a different scenario, I would imagine, if things had gone the other way. But credit to them. They bounced back, and that's what you got to do. I also want to say, well done, Nicholas van Dierendonck. Interview as well coming up later, but we'll take you through the top 3. It is, of course, Nicholas van Dierendonck with his first podium of the season overall, and that is an AM victory as well for him. Matteo Levisi and Federico Al-Rifai came across the line in second. Did not quite have enough to close up at the late stage after Saelens' mistake, but that mistake was written off with Nicholas Saelens and Steeners Longin, your winners for the third time here at Monza. And they're with Alfredo Filipponi.
Steen Longin, Nico Saelens, good night, because it's almost night here. What a wonderful win in race 1 in Monza, and what a wonderful finale we will have tomorrow. Let's start from the start. Steeners, how was it?
Yeah, it was very good. The first few corners was difficult to keep the other car behind. Then I could take a slight gap every lap, so that was good. But it was stressful all the time, because if you brake like 5 meters too late, you come out 25 meters too far. So it was not an easy race for me. But yeah, I'm really happy with the result.
Great job also from Nico, but you scared your team at some point.
Yeah. It was very slippery, so you had to keep your mind very good with the race, and there was like double yellows. So I was asking, is it safety car or not? So I was like a little bit panicking, what's happening, and then but luckily I have some experience on the gravel, and everything went okay.
And tomorrow we will see, but it's open.
Yeah, it's open. For sure it's open. He was thinking he was Thierry Neuville at a certain point, but now, tomorrow the first one will win the championship, I think. So it will be a special night for me.
Yeah.
Good. All the best. Podium now.
See you.
Well, it's open in the GT Cup Open, and this is how it opened in race 1. A grand getaway indeed for our 2 front row sitters, but it would be Steeners Longin who would lead right from the get-go, coming out of the chicane. We then saw a bit of a harem-scarum moment with Jorge Cabezas coming toe-to-toe with former teammate Ivan Velasco, as we then saw them head down in towards turn 1 yet again. Velasco obviously making a bit of an error, just losing it ever so slightly, having to cut the chicane, but did come out okay back out onto the circuit. It was then wheel-to-wheel further on. Dieter Schweppes, wasn't he a man on fire here in this particular race? Certainly gave us plenty of moments to watch, eventually passing Ivan Velasco, who would eventually encounter some issues during the pit stop phase. So eventually Luca Ludwig would step in. They replaced the cover on the engine bay. And then a scary moment for the Q1 track racing team. Nicholas Saelens taking a trip into the gravel. He said he's been there before several times. He needed all his experience to get back out again, but he held it together and took the race lead home for a victory. And that would be the 3rd for Q1 track racing. And on top of that, a 6th podium.
Jij ook, top. Yes!
Apologies, I think there was some naughty words in both English and French, or Flemish, or maybe even in 3 languages.
I'm not sure whether this is the case, but I think they're happy, Chris. But
I was getting that vibe from them, yes.
I mean, this has done wonders for the championship at this stage. I mean, without the drop scores, we're in a position now, obviously, without drop scores, I'm Velasco, Luca Ludwig, championship leaders, but 2 points the gap between Saelens, Longin. As soon as you drop the scores, though, it goes the other way. Yeah. Saelens and Longin, 1 point clear ahead of Velasco and Ludwig.
So the only sort of reprieve, really, is that they get 5 points back from Hockenheim race 1, and they're now only dropping 3, but obviously you still want the big points up there, really, and be fighting up at the front of the field. It's not like they'll sit back and just say, oh, well, we gained 3 points back, so that's not enough. That's not going to be enough. But
got an illuminated podium here at Monza.
I love
as well.
it. I love Monza. Look at it. It's so amazing out there. But of course, so tomorrow, obviously, weather depending, that's going to be a huge factor. But Luca Ludwig's going to be qualifying the car tomorrow morning. He'll no doubt be up at the front of the field. And of course, remember, the top 2, those 2 cars that are now, fighting for the championship, they're going to have handicaps to take as well. So throw in a Ludwig flying down the road, and then these 2 having to take additional time in the pit lane as well. Maybe this is just going to swing back to Mertel. But for now, the Belgian national anthem.
Well, what comes after P or P1 in the alphabet? It's Q, Q1. So that's exactly the situation we have in front of us here on the podium. Q1 track racing on top once more with the combination of Saelens as well as his teammate Steena's long in.
Do you know how much of a thinker that was, George? I had to just go through the alphabet in my head to make sure you weren't fibbing.
I like to quiz our audience at home.
Yes, clearly.
But, obviously.
The Michelin representative giving out the third place trophy to Nico van Dierendonk, and of course we just well done.
Technically, I'm P1, so you know.
No, it is Am P1 as well. He'll be back on the podium in a second.
Yeah,
I was going to say, of course, great to see the extension of the Michelin contract, so they'll be getting to hand out those trophies for another 3 years.
Yeah, fabulous. Of course, we saw Luis Ramos from Michelin presented the third place trophy to Nicolas van Dierendonk. Second place trophy is being presented, of course, to Federico Al Rifai. And then, of course, first place trophies being presented to Nicolas Saelens and Steena's Longin. And yes, great news about the Michelin extension for yet another 3 years. The relationship continues, a very successful one as well. The Q1 Track Racing team boss delighted alike. They continue their great run as well in the GT Cup Open Europe Championship. And it will be, of course, GT Sport Organisation CEO Jesus Pereira presenting Q1 Track Racing with the winning team's trophy. One I'm sure they'll be delighted with, because this could be a major victory on the face of the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've won the team's championship. They still have a great opportunity at the drivers' championship as well. The only one that is sort of unlikely for them is the AM drivers' championship as well. But don't count anything out. There is a 6-point lead they'd have to overhaul, but anything can happen tomorrow.
Yeah. More celebrations continuing, obviously, for the drivers that finished on the top steps. Nicolas van Dierendonk, you need not go away, sir. You will be back very shortly to jump onto the AM P1 step, and a great display it was for him. He'll be joined as well by the Nathan Braun's lineup with Laurent van der Velde. They will return to the podium as well for the AM category. And we can't forget as well Johannes Zelger, obviously representing the 79. Obviously a great performance from them too. And obviously looking to persevere in their endings to the championship, because obviously Zelger performing brilliantly out there. Laurent van der Velde knows exactly what it takes to perform at this level. A spirited character, and I must say, a fantastic haircut.
Yes, he really does have the sort of Carlos Sainz hair going here, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I would argue slightly better. No, he's got to ruin it with the Michelin cap, hasn't he? And get the hat hair out there. But it is a fourth podium finish in the AM category of the season for Johannes Zelger in the Tsunami Racing team Porsche. They've been having a pretty cracking maiden season here in GT Cup Europe. For Nathan Braun's and Laurent van der Velde, it is podium number 6 for them, just falling out of the AM Championship contention, but on the top step of the podium for only the second time this year, but on the podium for the 8th time? 4, 5, 6, 7, yes, 8th time is Nicolas van Dierendonk, and keeping Q1 Track Racing in the AM Championship hunt.
Yeah, could mean the world as well heading into tomorrow's fight. Obviously, that's when it all concludes. Trophies being presented as well to the AM winners. Already receiving his in third place is Johannes Zelger. Laurent van der Velde receiving his along with Nathan Braun's as well. Fantastic display from them. And Nicolas van Dierendonk will be the last to receive his. The Michelin representative stepping up to present the winner's trophy in AM class to Nicolas van Dierendonk. Obviously, a grand affair for multiple reasons. A weekend for him to remember, obviously, as well in its own right. But what a performance, no less. And there's going to be a lot on the line for the championship fight tomorrow. The champagne is sprayed here at Monza, but we'll be back for more action as we close out the GT Cup Open Championship. We'll see you then. Goodbye.